I'll bury you under that lake." Patricia screamed the moment I caught her red-handed. That Karen had actually posted my private lake online, listed for $50,000 to random investors like it was hers to sell. Then, as if that wasn't enough, she had the nerve to call the police and claim I had threatened her life. But what she didn't know was that I've been in real estate for 15 years. I know every trick in the book, and I also know exactly how to shut one down. There was one little detail about her own property that she had completely overlooked, and was about to flip this whole thing upside down. Let's just say now, Patricia can't even set foot near that lake again. Want to know how I pulled it off? 3 insane twists are coming. Buckle up. But first, where are you watching from? Drop your city or state in the comments. And if this kind of story grips you, hit subscribe so you never miss one. Every morning I sit by this lake with Duke, my golden retriever. This peaceful spot, it was the dream Emily and I once shared. Marcus, she used to say, flipping through travel magazines with that sparkle in her eye. When we retire, let's buy a ranch with a lake for fishing. But life doesn't always let dreams play out. 3 years ago, a drunk driver blew through a red light and took Emily away from me forever. After that, I couldn't stay in our old house. Every room echoed with her laughter, her voice, her memory. So I sold everything and bought this 5-acre ranch with a 2-acre lake. The same one she clipped from a magazine. It became my way of holding on to her, even in loss. I'd spent over a decade appraising properties, learning the dirty secrets of real estate, but all that was behind me. I came here for peace. Just me and Duke. That golden retriever Emily gave me 2 weeks before she died. The ranch was remote, peaceful, far enough to avoid small-town stares, but close enough to grab groceries. And the lake? That was the crown jewel. Crystal clear water surrounded by willow trees that danced in the wind. Every evening, I'd cast my fishing line while Duke lay beside me, the water lapping gently at the shore, offering silence and healing. Then, 6 months ago, Patricia Gray moved in, and everything started to fall apart. From the moment she arrived, something fell off. A 48-year-old woman with too much makeup and not enough humility, she immediately crowned herself president of the Meadowbrook Women's Association, which was hilarious considering we only had maybe 20 households here. She'd knock on every door with her phony grin, pushing petitions for economic growth and community development. Most neighbors were polite, but behind her back, everyone rolled their eyes. That city woman, they'd mutter and chuckle. What I didn't know then was how dangerous she truly was. Patricia hadn't just moved here for peace, she was running. Her brokerage back in the city had collapsed under fraud allegations. She'd forged signatures, taken deposits on homes that were never for sale, and fled with over $200,000 in debt. She even owed $50,000 to loan sharks who weren't the forgiving type. If I don't pay them in 3 months, they'll break my legs. I overheard her sob into the phone one night. She'd changed her name from Patricia Coleman, dyed her hair, and hid out in our rural town, thinking she could start over. But debt doesn't disappear just because you do. Her plan was to turn our quiet lakeside into the Patricia Lake Eco Resort. She had brochures, investor lists, and mock-up designs. And at the center of her grand plan, my lake, the same lake that meant everything to me, the last living piece of Emily's dream. She dug through county records and decided that if she could control access to my water, she could make millions. The fact that the lake didn't belong to her, just a minor inconvenience. After all, what was one grieving widower to stand in the way of her fantasy? Then came Monday morning. I got up at 6:30 as always, made coffee, and fed Duke. We were about to take our usual walk when my phone started ringing. Strange, I thought, unknown number. Then another call. And another. By 6:47, I had 50-plus missed calls and dozens of texts. Is this Marcus? I'm interested in the lake. Would you take $60,000 cash? I'm flying in from California tomorrow. My hand shook as I opened my laptop. And there it was, everywhere. My lake, listed in real estate groups, online marketplaces, plastered across the internet. She was selling it. My lake. Private 2-acre lake. Development ready. Price to sell at $50,000. Contact Patricia Gray, authorized representative. There were drone photos from every angle. renderings of cabins and docks. She even included my private fishing pier in the pictures. My refuge, my memories, my wife's dream, all turned into a cheap online sales pitch. I felt my chest tighten. Duke, sensing my rage, whimpered beside me. I couldn't waste time with police reports. I needed to confront her now. I stormed out, Duke pacing at my heels. The quarter-mile to Patricia's place felt like nothing. I found her in her yard, watering roses with that insufferable smile. "Good morning, Marcus. Lovely day, isn't it?" She chirped like we were old friends. "Are you out of your mind?" I shouted. "You're selling my property online." Her grin didn't fade, but her eyes sharpened. "Oh, Marcus, don't be so dramatic. That lake's been underused for years. I'm helping the community see its potential." "That lake is mine," I said, stepping closer. "Private property. You have no right." She chuckled, smug. "Do you have the proper documentation? Or are you just squatting on unmarked land? I've got friends in the county assessor's office. They say these boundaries are a little flexible." That was a lie. I knew it. My deed was ironclad, taxes paid like clockwork. But the way she said it made me hesitate, just for a second. That's when I saw her hand behind her back, moving on her phone. "Don't try to intimidate me," she said, raising her voice now. "I know your type. Bitter old men who think they own the world." Before I could respond, she went full performance mode. Her face twisted in fear. She screamed at the top of her lungs. "And no, please don't hit me. Help! Somebody help. He's going to kill me." Then she fell backward, on purpose, into her flower pots. Her phone, already connected to 911. I stood there, stunned, as she shrieked into the phone. "He said he'd bury me under the lake. Please, please hurry." Within minutes, the sirens came. 2 police cars flew in her driveway, lights flashing, tires screeching. 4 officers jumped out, hands on their weapons. Patricia ran toward them, hair a mess, mascara streaked like tears. "Thank God you're here," she sobbed, pointing at me. "That man threatened to kill me." The lead officer approached me cautiously. "Sir, step back and put your hands where I can see them." "Officer, she's lying," I said, trying to stay calm. "I came here because she's illegally selling my lake online." "Sir, calm down. Hands visible now." His tone left no room for debate. Duke growled at the officers, tense and alert, and I quickly reached down to grab his collar. The next 30 minutes dragged by like a lifetime. Officers separated us and started taking statements. Patricia spun a dramatic tale about harassment, intimidation, and threats. Meanwhile, I showed them screenshots from my phone, tried to explain the real story, that the lake was mine, and she was fraudulently trying to sell it. But the officers looked unconvinced. Thank God for Mrs. Henderson. She lives in the house between ours. Her security cameras cover Patricia's entire front yard. When the police reviewed the footage, it was crystal clear. I stood still the entire time. Patricia had thrown herself backwards like an actress, without any physical contact from me. Just a stunned man and his loyal dog standing in disbelief. The sergeant's face turned hard. "Ma'am, making a false report is a serious offense." Patricia's fake tears vanished instantly. "That video doesn't show everything. He threatened me before that." The sergeant let out a heavy sigh. "Both of you need to resolve this civilly. No more confrontations. Ma'am, don't call us again unless there's real danger." "Sir, stay off her property." As the officers left, Patricia met my eyes and smirked. She knew she'd lost this round, but there wasn't a hint of shame in her. Duke and I walked back to the house slowly. My thoughts raced. I knew Patricia wasn't done. She needed money, and badly. And in her eyes, my lake was her golden ticket. But as we reached the edge of my property, something clicked in the back of my mind. 15 years in real estate had taught me all about easements, long-lost parcels, and county-level oversights. That night, I pulled out my old survey maps. If Patricia wanted to play dirty, she was about to find out that this widower had some tricks up his sleeve. By midnight, I found it, something buried deep in the county records. Something Patricia had definitely missed. Patricia had just called the cops and tried to ruin me with a lie, but she didn't realize I'd just uncovered the fatal flaw in her entire scheme. What do you think I found? Comment below. She shrieked, "Stop this immediately." I stepped forward calmly, Duke trotting at my side. "Good morning, Patricia," I said with a smile. "Just making a few property improvements. Early bird gets the worm, right?" Her eyes snapped toward the fence line, and I saw the moment it hit her. "You can't do this." Patricia's voice shot up to a shrill pitch that probably woke up every neighbor within half a mile. "This is harassment. You're disturbing the peace. I'll call the police." "Go ahead," I replied pleasantly. "I've got every permit in place. Working hours for agricultural properties start at 4:30 a.m. It's all perfectly legal." I pulled out the permits from my jacket and held them up so she could see the county stamps. Clear, official, undeniable. Patricia's face turned several shades of furious. That's the access road to the lake. You can't block that." "Actually," I said, pointing toward the fence, "this is Plot Y, which I own. Your Plot X is right there." I nodded toward her shiny mistake of a purchase. "But without my strip, it connects to exactly nothing." The crew kept working, totally unfazed by the drama unfolding. Jake's team had seen plenty of property war zones before. This was just Tuesday to them. By 7:15, the fence stood finished, 8 feet of galvanized steel mesh, topped with angled deterrent wires, anchored in solid concrete. It was built to last longer than both of us. The electronic gate came with a keypad, a magnetic lock, and 2 night vision security cameras. Solar panels powered the system, keeping it fully off-grid. Every 20 feet, a sign now declared, "Private property. No trespassing." Video surveillance in use. It was stunning. What used to be an innocent dirt road now looked like the front gate of a minimum security prison. Jake's crew packed up with practiced ease. "That should hold off anything short of a tank," Jake said with a grin. "Want us to stick around for the fireworks?" "No need," I replied, handing him a thick envelope of cash. "Thanks for the fast turnaround." The trucks rolled out. I checked my watch. 7:45 a.m. Patricia's first investor group was due in 15 minutes. 8 a.m. On the dot like clockwork, Patricia emerged from her house dressed like a high-end real estate mogul. Navy suit, pearl necklace, leather portfolio, and a grin so fake it could sell sand in the desert. Behind her, a line of luxury SUVs snaked along the road. About 25 potential investors. I recognized the look. Hedge fund guys, real estate flippers, and venture capital types with too much money and too little patience. Patricia led them like a cruise director, arms wide as she spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future side of Patricia Lake Eco Resort. In just a moment, you'll witness the pristine waters that will anchor our sustainable luxury destination." The group followed eagerly, checkbooks practically vibrating in their pockets. They rounded the bend toward the lake, and all motion stopped. The silence was beautiful. 25 wealthy investors stood staring at the massive steel fence, stunned. Their faces morphed from eager to confused to visibly annoyed. Patricia stood frozen, her polished smile cracking like paint in the sun. The morning light caught the metallic fence just right, making the no trespassing signs gleam. One of the security cameras pivoted and locked onto the group, its red recording light blinking like an accusation. Nobody moved. Then came the voices. "Miss Gray, is this a joke?" A man in a $1,000 suit stepped forward, eyes hard. "Where's the lake access you promised?" "I flew in from Seattle," a woman snapped. "My time's worth $2,000 an hour. This looks like fraud. I want my deposit back, immediately," another investor barked. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "This is just temporary. A minor boundary issue," she said, voice cracking. "We have full lake access, I promise." But the confidence was gone. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool breeze. That was my cue. I strolled out from my house casually, Duke at my side, tail wagging. "Good morning, folks," I called. "Beautiful day for a tour, isn't it?" 25 heads turned to look. Patricia's eyes narrowed into daggers. "This is the man causing the trouble," she blurted. "He's illegally blocking public access." "Nothing illegal about it," I said easily, holding up my laminated deed like it was a golden ticket. "This here is Plot Y, purchased legally at a county auction. Private property." I gestured behind me. And that over there? That's Plot X, Patricia's land. The problem is, her strip doesn't reach the lake unless you plan to trespass through mine. The silver-haired investor stepped closer, sharp-eyed. Miss Gray, he asked, voice low and dangerous. Are you telling us you don't actually have lake access? Of course we do. Patricia stammered, flustered. It's just a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I added, perfectly calm. She bought a dead end. I bought the only road to the lake. Unless you folks brought helicopters, there's no legal way to reach the water without stepping on my land. A younger investor was already on his phone, clearly calling his lawyer. Another had started snapping pictures of the fence, of Patricia, and of me. Several others were arguing with their business partners, voices rising. The woman from Seattle looked like she was ready to kill. I gave you $25,000 as a deposit, one man yelled, jabbing a finger at Patricia. I want it back now. That was the dam breaking. Others started shouting out their amounts. 15,000, 30 grand. I transferred 50,000 just yesterday. Patricia's face, once flushed with fury, had now turned ghostly pale. Duke, feeling the tension spike, instinctively stepped between me and the crowd, ears perked, body alert. Please, everyone, Patricia said, her voice shaking. Let's just go back to my house. We can talk this through calmly. But it was too late. The investors were already storming off, headed back to their cars. You'll be hearing from my attorney, someone shouted. This is fraud, plain and simple. I'm calling the FBI. Expect a lawsuit by Monday. Car doors slammed shut like gunfire. Engines roared to life. And just like that, the convoy of high-end vehicles peeled out, one by one, leaving a thick cloud of dust hanging in the air, and Patricia standing in the middle of it, completely alone. She spun on me then, eyes full of venom. You've ruined everything, she hissed through clenched teeth. Do you have any idea what you've done? Protected my property? I offered calmly. You mean like you should have protected those deposits? Her face twisted with rage. Open this gate immediately. I have legal access. No, I replied calmly. You have Plot X, a 75-square-meter strip that begins at your property line and ends right here at my fence. Congratulations on your $10,000 sidewalk to nowhere. Patricia rushed the gate and grabbed it, shaking it so hard it clanged against the metal. Open this. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. Duke let out a sharp, warning bark. Patricia stumbled back a step. Sue away, I said, my voice steady. Though you might want to save your money for all those refunds you're about to owe. Right then, Thomas and Linda Murphy drove past in their old pickup, as if on cue. Thomas rolled down his window and took in the scene with an amused smirk. Morning, Marcus, he called. Nice fence. Looks sturdy. He turned to Patricia with exaggerated concern. Everything all right, Miss Gray? You look a little flustered. Linda leaned across the bench seat, eyes wide and innocent. Oh, Patricia, where did all your investors go? They left so quickly. Patricia shot them both a glare that could have cut steel. Thomas just laughed. 40 years I've lived in this town, he said, and I've never seen someone outsmart themselves so thoroughly. He shook his head. You bought a road to nowhere, didn't you? It's like those city folks who buy oceanfront property at high tide, Linda chimed in sweetly. Sometimes, a little local knowledge saves you from an expensive mistake. Just then, Sarah Wilson jogged up, phone in hand, eyes wide with excitement. Sarah ran the corner grocery and, unofficially, the town grapevine. Oh my God, Patricia, she said breathlessly. Someone just posted a video of your investor meltdown. It already has over 300 views. Everyone's sharing it. She held up her screen. Shaky footage showed the furious investors storming off, kicking up dust as they peeled away. The comments section scrolled fast. Scam artist exposed. Lock her up. Patricia Gray, the fraud queen. Patricia looked like she was about to faint. Her picture-perfect morning had crumbled into public disaster, and it was spreading like wildfire through the county. This isn't over, she spat, turning toward me. I have resources. I have connections. You've made a powerful enemy. I made an enemy, I said quietly, the moment you tried to steal my lake. Today I just chose to fight back. She spun around and stormed off, heels clacking hard against the pavement. But as she walked away, I noticed her shoulders trembling. Was it anger? Or something deeper? Defeat? I couldn't tell. Duke and I stood there beside our new fence, watching her retreat. The morning sun had fully risen now, casting long shadows across the ranch. My lake shimmered peacefully in the distance, untouched and finally safe. Good boy, I said softly, kneeling to scratch behind Duke's ears. We did it. But even as I stood there soaking in the wind, I knew one thing: Patricia wasn't done. Desperate people do desperate things. And Patricia? She had officially crossed into desperation mode. Those investors would be coming for their money now. And she'd already spent it on glossy brochures, fake permits, and probably a few personal luxuries too. A cornered animal is always the most dangerous. And I had just backed Patricia into the tightest corner of her life. Thomas parked his truck and walked over, still chuckling from the chaos. That was something else, Marcus, he said. But be careful. That woman's got the look of someone with nothing left to lose. I know, I admitted, but she started this war. Thomas's grin faded. His voice got serious. Just remember, winning battles ain't the same as winning wars. She'll come back, probably from another angle. As if the universe wanted to prove him right, my phone buzzed. Notification. Someone had tagged me in a social media post. Patricia had already launched her counterattack, and it wasn't going to be pretty. Still, for now, I had my fence. I had my lake. And I had the small but sweet satisfaction of watching 25 angry investors tear away from her scam in a cloud of dust. Duke and I headed inside for breakfast. But I knew the real war was just beginning. She had lied to police. She had defrauded investors. What would she try next? I got my answer the very next morning, and it showed up in flashing lights. At exactly 6 a.m., 2 police cruisers rolled into my driveway, red and blue lights cutting through the dawn. This time, Patricia had come prepared. She brought reinforcements. Out stepped Officer Rodriguez and Officer Kim, both looking like they were already tired of this drama. And behind them came Patricia. She moved with calculated grace, her arm bandaged, her makeup faint and subtle, just enough to make her look pale and delicate, like some victim in a courtroom drama. And she wasn't alone. She'd brought a witness. Jeremy Peterson, a nervous-looking man who'd just moved into the old Baker property. He looked like he didn't want to be there, and I'd bet every acre of my ranch she'd rehearsed his lines with him the night before. Well, officers, Patricia began, her voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. Thank you for coming so quickly. She dabbed at her bandaged arm like she was giving a performance. Yesterday's incident left me completely shaken. As I explained on the phone, Mr. Marcus physically assaulted me when I tried to have a civil conversation about the fence. Jeremy witnessed everything. She gestured toward her wrapped arm like it was exhibit. Jeremy stepped forward like a kid forced to give a book report. I saw Mr. Marcus push Ms. Gray, he mumbled. She fell and hurt her arm on the fence. His words came out stiff, flat, like he was reading them off a bathroom mirror. Behind my screen door, Duke let out a low growl. He could smell the lie better than anyone. Officer Rodriguez frowned, clearly skeptical, but stuck to protocol. Mr. Marcus, he said, we need to ask about an alleged assault that occurred around 4 p.m. yesterday, near the new fence. Ms. Gray claims you pushed her. I stayed calm. I had seen this coming. Officers, I said, I have 8 security cameras covering every inch of my property, especially the new fence line. Everything is recorded in HD, audio included. Would you like to review the footage? For a brief second, Patricia's mask slipped. She hadn't noticed the cameras in all her screaming the day before. Those videos can be edited, she snapped quickly. Everyone knows about deep fakes now. Officer Kim pulled out a department-issued tablet. Ma'am, she said evenly, we have tools to verify authenticity. Mr. Marcus, can you share the footage from yesterday? I invited them in. Duke stayed right at my heel, never taking his eyes off Patricia. I opened my laptop, pulled up the security feed, and scrubbed to the timestamp. 4:07 p.m. The footage was crystal clear. Multiple angles showed Patricia walking up to the fence alone, no Jeremy in sight. She examined the gate, kicked it a few times in frustration, then slowly dragged her arm across a protruding bolt. Self-inflicted. Obvious. Intentional. The officers watched in total silence. Jeremy's face went chalk white. Then Rodriguez turned to him, voice like ice. "Mr. Peterson," he said firmly, "would you like to revise your statement? Keep in mind, filing a false police report is a felony." Jeremy broke down right away. "She gave me $5,000 to lie for her," he stammered. "I needed the cash. My daughter needs medical care. I'm sorry, so sorry." He looked like he was about to burst into tears. Patricia's expression changed completely, from pitiful to furious in an instant. "You idiot," she spat at him, dropping the innocent act entirely. "I should have known better than to trust a spineless fool like you." Rodriguez had heard enough. "Miss Gray, you're under arrest for filing a false report and tampering with a witness. You have the right to remain silent." As they cuffed her, she turned and glared at me. The hatred in her eyes was raw and unmistakable. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You have no clue who you're dealing with. I have friends in places you can't even imagine. You'll pay for this." But her words sounded empty as they walked her to the cruiser. Jeremy, looking like death warmed over, gave his statement about the bribe. They let Patricia out on bail later that day, but the damage was done. Another stain on her record, another one of her cheap scams falling apart. As the police cars drove away, I felt no joy, just bone-deep exhaustion. How far would she go? What would she try next? That night, my phone blew up. While out on bail, Patricia had spent the entire afternoon launching a smear campaign online. She spammed dozens of local groups with warped stories about me. One headline shrieked, "Local big shot threatens single woman's safety." Another declared, "Violent widower harasses community." She posted doctored photos that made me look threatening and fake screenshots of messages I'd supposedly sent. She told a ridiculous story where I was some crazed hermit who threatened to poison the lake. She even claimed I killed my wife for the insurance money and was now terrorizing successful women. Her posts spread fast. People who didn't even know me piled on in the comments. "Men like this are why women aren't safe. Somebody needs to look into his wife's death. Boycott any business that deals with him." My phone rang nonstop. Reporters asked for my side. Neighbors wanted to know if the stories were true. A couple of vigilantes even threatened me. Sarah Wilson called, frantic. "Marcus, this is nuts. She's wrecking your reputation. Half the county is reading this garbage." Duke sensed my anxiety and wouldn't leave my side. I thought about replying to every accusation, but I remembered a rule from my old real estate days. Never argue with a liar on their terms. Instead, tell your own story with facts they can't deny. I spent 2 careful hours building my response. No emotional rants, just cold, hard evidence. I titled the post, "The Truth About Patricia Gray, aka Patricia Coleman. Evidence speaks louder than lies." First, I posted her mugshot from her 2018 fraud arrest in Florida. That was easy to find in public records. Then I added screenshots of her original posts trying to sell my lake, dated well before her fights. I included video of her faking her injury, audio of her bribing Jeremy, police report numbers for both incidents. The highlight was testimony from 15 people who had sent her deposits for the fake resort, $89,000 in total fraud. But the real bombshell came when I dug deeper. I found out her real name and started researching hard. Patricia Coleman had been pulling these scams in multiple states. Florida in 2018, convicted for forging property deeds. Texas in 2020, arrested for a vacation rental scam. California in 2022, skipped town before trial for embezzling from elderly clients. Every time she made bail, changed her name, and started fresh. The pattern was obvious. I linked to news stories, court documents, and victim statements. I ended with, "I'm just a widower who wants to fish in peace." Patricia Coleman is a serial fraudster who preys on vulnerable communities. The evidence speaks for itself. In 1 hour, my post had 500 shares. By 3 hours, 6,000. Comments exploded. Thomas Murphy wrote, "I can vouch. She tried to sell land that wasn't hers. I've lived here 40 years and never seen anything like it." Sarah Wilson added, "My cousin lost $5,000. We're pressing charges. Linda Murphy chimed in. Her ex-husband divorced her for stealing his mom's retirement savings. Local news jumped on it. Serial fraudster exposed in Lakeside community, complete with her mugshot and victim interviews. Jeremy broke down right away. She gave me $5,000 to lie for her, he stammered. I needed the cash. My daughter needs medical care. I'm sorry, so sorry. He looked like he was about to burst into tears. Patricia's expression changed completely, from pitiful to furious in an instant. You idiot, she spat at him, dropping the innocent act entirely. I should have known better than to trust a spineless fool like you. Rodriguez had heard enough. Miss Gray, you're under arrest for filing a false report and tampering with a witness. You have the right to remain silent. As they cuffed her, she turned and glared at me. The hatred in her eyes was raw and unmistakable. This isn't over, she hissed. You have no clue who you're dealing with. I have friends in places you can't even imagine. You'll pay for this. But her words sounded empty as they walked her to the cruiser. Jeremy, looking like death warmed over, gave his statement about the bribe. They let Patricia out on bail later that day, but the damage was done. Another stain on her record, another one of her cheap scams falling apart. As the police cars drove away, I felt no joy, just bone-deep exhaustion. How far would she go? What would she try next? That night, my phone blew up. While out on bail, Patricia had spent the entire afternoon launching a smear campaign online. She spammed dozens of local groups with warped stories about me. One headline shrieked, "Local big shot threatens single woman's safety." Another declared, "Violent widower harasses community." She posted doctored photos that made me look threatening and fake screenshots of messages I'd supposedly sent. She told a ridiculous story where I was some crazed hermit who threatened to poison the lake. She even claimed I killed my wife for the insurance money and was now terrorizing successful women. Her posts spread fast. People who didn't even know me piled on in the comments. Men like this are why women aren't safe. Somebody needs to look into his wife's death. Boycott any business that deals with him. My phone rang nonstop. Reporters asked for my side. Neighbors wanted to know if the stories were true. A couple of vigilantes even threatened me. Sarah Wilson called, frantic. Marcus, this is nuts. She's wrecking your reputation. Half the county is reading this garbage. Duke sensed my anxiety and wouldn't leave my side. I thought about replying to every accusation. But I remember a rule from my old real estate days. Never argue with a liar on their terms. Instead, tell your own story with facts they can't deny. I spent 2 careful hours building my response. No emotional rants. Just cold, hard evidence. I titled the post, "The Truth About Patricia Gray, aka Patricia Coleman. Evidence speaks louder than lies." First, I posted her mugshot from her 2018 fraud arrest in Florida. That was easy to find in public records. Then, I added screenshots of her original post trying to sell my lake, dated well before our fights. I included video of her faking her injury, audio of her bribing Jeremy, police report numbers for both incidents. The highlight was testimony from 15 people who had sent her deposits for the fake resort, $89,000 in total fraud. But the real bombshell came when I dug deeper. I found out her real name and started researching hard. Patricia Coleman had been pulling these scams in multiple states. Florida in 2018, convicted for forging property deeds. Texas in 2020, arrested for a vacation rental scam. California in 2022, skipped town before trial for embezzling from elderly clients. Every time she made bail, changed her name, and started fresh. The pattern was obvious. I linked to news stories, court documents, and victim statements. I ended with, "I'm just a widower who wants to fish in peace." Patricia Coleman is a serial fraudster who preys on vulnerable communities. The evidence speaks for itself. In 1 hour, my post had 500 shares. By 3 hours, 6,000. Comments exploded. Thomas Murphy wrote, "I can vouch. She tried to sell land that wasn't hers. I've lived here 40 years and never seen anything like it." Sarah Wilson added, "My cousin lost $5,000. We're pressing charges." Linda Murphy chimed in. Her ex-husband divorced her for stealing his mom's retirement savings. Local news jumped on it. serial fraudster exposed in Lakeside community, complete with her mugshot and victim interviews. Someone even made a website listing all her known aliases and scams. The FBI's fraud unit opened an investigation. By midnight, Patricia had wiped all her social media, but screenshots spread like wildfire. Her reputation wasn't just dented. It was demolished. My calls changed from insults to apologies. Sorry I doubted you, Marcus. We should have known. Thank you for exposing her. Duke finally relaxed, sensing the change in mood. We sat on the porch and watched the moonlight dance on the lake Emily loved so much. For the first time in weeks, I could exhale. But even with peace settling over the ranch, I knew it wasn't over. Desperate people don't just give up. They get dangerous. The next morning proved it. Patricia's car was gone from her driveway, but she hadn't fled. Duke wouldn't eat and whimpered at the door. I let him out, and he bolted to his water bowl by the fence, barking like crazy. When I checked, I saw a rainbow sheen on the water. My blood ran cold. I dumped the bowl and called the vet right away. Bring him in immediately, Dr. Martinez said. Bring a sample of that water. Thank God Duke hadn't drunk any. His instincts saved him. Tests showed it was antifreeze, deadly and sweet-tasting to dogs. Patricia had tried to poison him. I filed another report for attempted animal cruelty. This was different now. Fraud and lies were one thing. But going after Duke, that crossed the line. Emily had loved that dog. He was my last living tie to her. Patricia had tried to take that from me. That night, I added security lights and more cameras. Duke had to stay inside. He looked at the door longingly, but I couldn't risk it. I knew she was capable of anything, and I had to be ready. This wasn't a property dispute anymore. It was something darker. When I met with Anderson Edwards and Associates downtown, the office was classic old money, quiet and professional. Robert Anderson himself, with his silver hair and sharp eyes, read through my case file. Mr. Marcus, he said, adjusting his glasses, I've practiced for 30 years. I've rarely seen such clear evidence of serial fraud. He turned his laptop so I could see. His paralegal had found even more victims, 3 in Nevada, 2 in Arizona, an elderly couple in Maine who lost their retirement. She's been doing this over a decade, he said. The scale was staggering. She would find vulnerable property owners, cook up fake development plans, collect deposits, then vanish. The lake resort scam was just her latest act. What's our move? I asked. He gave a grim smile. We file civil and criminal complaints. The civil suit will cover harassment, defamation, attempted theft, emotional distress. The criminal side will be for fraud, false reports, witness tampering, attempted animal cruelty. With her record, no prosecutor will cut a deal. We spent hours assembling evidence. Forged listings, fake police reports, the poisoning attempt. Anderson's team built rock-solid exhibits from security footage, witness statements, Patricia's long history. There's something else, Anderson said as we wrapped up. She skipped bail in Florida. Texas has an active warrant. California wants her too. Once we file, she can't just run again. The trap was closing, and Duke waited calmly in the lobby, charming the staff while I signed everything. Meanwhile, Patricia was learning that ruining her reputation had consequences. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing, but it wasn't friends. Where's my $5,000? I want my deposit back now. Her victims were furious and organized. Someone made a group chat for sharing info and planning legal action. They had tallied $113,000 in total fraud across 23 victims. And it got worse for her. The mortgage company called about missed payments. The dealership wanted their lease car back. Credit card companies flagged her. The whole house of cards was falling apart. She tried hiring lawyers, but her reputation preceded her. Sorry, ma'am, we're fully booked. 3 fraud convictions? We need $200,000 up front. The FBI's looking into you? We can't help. Even the public defender's office laughed. You stole over $100,000. You're not indigent. You're broke because of your own scams. Pay for your lawyer or go pro SE. That week, the town hall meeting was standing room only. Word had spread. Walter Freeman, the council president, tried to keep order. We're here to discuss Patricia Gray. Let's keep it civil. But there wasn't much civility. One by one, her victims stood up. She promised me lake access for $8,000. She said my daughter would have a job at the resort. She dumped trash on my property. My dog got sick after drinking near her yard. I wonder now if it was on purpose. Thomas Murphy stood last, face lined and serious. I've lived here 40 years. We've had disagreements, but nothing like this. She came here to profit off us. Thought country folks were easy marks. Well, she thought wrong. Applause broke out. Linda Murphy added, she tried to turn us against Marcus, who's done nothing but be a good neighbor after losing his wife. That's not just fraud. That's evil. The vote was unanimous. Patricia was banned from all community events. It wasn't legally binding, but made the message clear. Within days, Patricia put her house up for sale at a desperate discount. But no one would buy it. That's the fraud house, people whispered. Realtors refused to list it. Sorry, too much baggage. Patricia was stuck. Bills piled up. Her car got repossessed. Utilities threatened shutoffs. The fake success fell apart, leaving only a desperate con artist behind. Finally, the day of her criminal trial arrived. The courtroom was packed. She looked terrible in an ill-fitting suit. Her lawyer was clearly a last-minute hire who barely knew the case. The prosecutor, Jennifer Walsh, didn't waste time. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, she began. Patricia Coleman has victimized people across 7 states over 12 years. She's a predator who thinks small towns make easy targets. Today, we show that even quiet communities have justice. The evidence was brutal. Security footage of her lies. Audio of bribery. Documents of her fake sales. 23 victims testified, some driving hours to face her. I spoke about the harassment, the theft attempt, the poison water bowl. Duke even came to court as evidence, sitting quietly as the prosecutor explained what she tried to do to him. Several jurors recoiled at that. Her defense was laughable. She blamed stress, financial pressure, momentary lapses. But how do you excuse 12 years of scams? When she testified, she played the victim again. She claimed I was behind it all. The prosecutor shredded her story in minutes. The jury needed only 47 minutes to decide. Guilty. 2 weeks later, the judge handed down her sentence. Patricia Coleman, you're a career criminal who's never shown remorse. You've stolen dreams and shattered trust. I sentence you to 18 years in federal prison with no early release for 5 years. You're ordered to pay $317,000 in restitution. She collapsed at the defense table. At her age, it was effectively a life sentence. As they led her away in chains, she shot me one last look. Hatred was still there, but there was defeat, too. A month later, Duke and I sat by the lake in the cool autumn light. The water was calm, peaceful. Thomas and Linda organized a community barbecue to celebrate. Everyone called it the Patricia's Gone Party. Sarah brought her famous potato salad and the latest gossip. Did you hear? She's in federal prison in Kentucky. They put her on kitchen duty. From fake resort owner to dishwasher. People laughed. I felt a little pang, not pity, but a sense of waste. She was smart enough to succeed honestly. But she chose lies. Walter Freeman raised his beer toward me. You did good, Marcus. You stood up to a bully and won. Emily would be proud. Hearing Emily's name still hurt a little, but it also brought a warm feeling. I kept my word to her. I'd guarded the dream we built together. Duke barked with excitement, chasing a butterfly along the shore. Life felt normal again. Well, as normal as it could be without Emily here. The lake was ours once more, quiet and safe. The setting sun lit the water in beautiful streaks of pink and gold. I spoke softly into the breeze. We did it, Em. The lake's safe. Duke came trotting back to me, soaked and thrilled from exploring. We watched the daylight slowly disappear together, man and dog, sharing a promise. Patricia was gone for good. But Emily's memory stayed alive in every ripple on the lake, every sunrise, every calm morning spent here. Justice can look like a prison sentence and a pair of handcuffs, but it can also be as simple as a dog splashing in the water you fought to keep safe. Both kinds matter. Both kinds help heal old wounds. That's the full story of Patricia Gray, or Patricia Coleman, as the federal system calls her now. She tried to steal this place from me and lost everything instead. People sometimes ask if I feel bad about her getting 18 years in prison. The truth is, I don't. She made her own choices, lying, stealing, hurting innocent people. She tried to kill Duke, smear my name, and take the spot where Emily's memory lives on. She earned exactly what she got. Today, the ranch is quiet again. Duke's a little older, but he still loves our morning walks by the lake. The whole community feels closer now, united after surviving her attempt to rip us apart. We learned the hard way that standing together keeps scammers away. Those who think country folk are easy to fool. I still fish every evening from my usual spot, remembering Emily and smiling at the thought that we kept her dreams safe. If you liked hearing this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more real-life stories. And tell me, have you ever had a neighbor from hell? How did you deal with it? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one and love hearing how people stand up for themselves. Thanks for being here. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is just protecting what's yours. See you in the next story. If this one made you feel even a little better about your own choices, then I've done my job. Give it a like, and check out the next Speedy Stories twist.